Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. All right, the gremlins already started. Everybody, welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and your money. Today, we are having real conversations about culture, content, and control. From WorldstarHipHop to BT platforms that claim to represent the Black life often profit from our pain, our stereotypes, and sensationalism. And most of them are not even Black owned anymore. This is a massive concern. We are asking the hard question: who benefits when our stories are filtered through someone else's lenses? Are we being represented, or are we being exploited? As we actually head deeper into the digital age, ownership really does matter more than ever. It's not just about who tells the story, but also profits from it. So today we're breaking down the difference between representation and exploitation and what real media ownership should look like in 2025. Well, might as well say 2026, y'all. It's November already. We are in the middle of November. Today, my royal court is Joe Corley, licensed therapist and founder of Real You Consulting, Dr. Sabrina Jackson, life and legacy planning strategist, Marlo Layson Jackson. She said Jackson. It's not. I don't know why. It's Dr. Sabrina Williams. You know I don't play around with people's names. Okay. Marlo Layson, TV and film producer, and little crazy me, international vocalist and real estate agent. Listen, I have to be very honest, panel. I get really, really sick to my stomach when I see all the things that have been churning out. Now, me, I have never been a world star chick. I don't like that kind of stuff. It drives me nuts because most of the time it was putting arguments and fights and all those things on there. And I just don't like to see that. But I am also an AI girly. So now I am really seeing even more stuff that makes me sick to my stomach that AI has created, and people are taking off watermarks. So a lot of people don't even know if it's real or not. So I'm going to actually ask each one of you this question before we really dive into this. First of all, welcome, family. If you're watching, happy Monday. Please make sure that you comment and share out because we'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well. So Dr. Sabrina, what was your first reaction to hearing the phrase Black culture is being exploited?
Well, I can't say that I was surprised because I feel like we're always exploited in some way, shape, form, or fashion. But it's really, really disappointing because for so long, we have not even had a chance to tell our story. And, it really makes a difference when who the storyteller is, what version of the story you're going to hear in the first place. So it's really concerning when you have the era that we live in now, when anything could be put out there and people who really just don't know, particularly our younger people, a lot of times they don't know our story. They don't know our history. And so, they're on social media. They're very impressionable and, mind control. That's what concerns me. Like, what impact is a lot of this stuff going to have on their minds? And I know that's Joe's area, so I'm not going to step to that too much, but that's where I'm concerned.
I think it's a valid concern. I really, really do, because with today, how they're taking away our history and banning books and removing them and putting out garbage that they are now putting into the school curriculums, I think that's a very valid point. How about you, Marlo? What do you think of when you feel like they are exploiting us with these videos?
It's a double-edged sword, right? Like when you can't look at AI as a whole thing and not understand that there's going to be damage done. I think we had a show and everybody kind of poo-pooed me because I was saying, yeah, it's great to make money with AI, but what happens when you are the subject of a deep fake, right? Now, do you love AI? Now, do you want regulation? So I think it's just a real slippery slope. It is the media of today, and I would just suggest there are a lot of little tests out there, and different media watch groups have different little bell ringers that you can do so that you can learn to be able to spot an AI deep fake. I think people that store an app, people don't even know what that is. They probably think that that's another TikTok, right? They don't realize that that's an app that is used to generate AI content using real people. So I think you just got to be vigilant, and you have to be interested in knowing what truth is and what is real and what is manufactured in this era that we're moving into right now.
Yeah, I agree. But and it's interesting to me though, because you kind of have to have an eye and an ear for some of this AI that's out there. Little things like watching the mouth movements. They haven't really necessarily perfected that yet. The hand movements, the tick tick. You have to be careful, but it's getting better and better. Y'all, Sora is not really playing around. So, Joe, what was your first reaction to hearing the phrase "Black culture is being exploited"?
My immediate reaction is duh, right? I mean, that's kind of been the norm for decades, right? But also, the direction that it's going in is kind of like a double-edged thing for me. Like, yes, it does make my job harder in a lot of ways, but also it makes my job more necessary too. So, yeah, I just kind of look at it like another thing that we got to deal with. We got to expand our capacity to deal with another thing.
Well, I think we also not only have to address the fact that we're talking about young people, but let's really also tap into the fact that a lot of our elderly are also very active now on social media outlets. And I have several family members in their 80s that are on there and have actually like, did you see the video that shows blah, blah, blah? And I've said, no, auntie, that's not really real. And they really can't tell the difference. So it's not just the young generation that we have to look out for. I do believe that we have to watch out for all of us and ourselves, because there have actually been times where I've looked at someone and go, wait, is that AI or not? I've had to think about that, right? Black Lexicon says the trickiest part is what's admissible in court. But that's a story for another day, I suppose. Yes, because there have now been people who have what is the HBO Game of Thrones? The writer of that actually took people to court because people took it upon themselves to continue the story, and he went to sue them on that, and he won. And so we're adding to legal remedy ramifications that we have not seen before. But we have a video that I think is really good. So let's check out this video because it really does set up this conversation. Let's check this out.
I saw a post on WorldstarHipHop.com that said this woman sent $2,000 back as a birthday gift because she knows her worth. But the real question is, like, who's behind the message? Did you know that in 2019, Media Lab AI acquired Worldstar Hip Hop? They've owned it since then. And Media Lab AI is owned by a guy named Michael Hayward. And they also own Kick, Ingenious, and other media platforms. So you got to understand, like, we're at a point right now that before we even believe what we're listening to or looking at on social media, who's behind the messaging? That's why when we talked about the T app earlier, in earlier episodes, it's like, yo, is this used as a propaganda machine? And a lot of people on my comment, because I commented on WorldStar, and I'm like, yo, and they were like, Isaac, like, you're right. I never thought about it like that. Like, cause the name was like goofy. The name was like Kavan. Like, I know my worth, Kavan, and it's real. N-words out there that are going to give me the bag. I'm like, what does that do except pit black men and black women against one another? And it's on WorldstarHipHop.com. And you don't even know. I was like, you can't even tell if the message is real or not. And so we got to figure out if we're being gaslit by, a community to keep us divided.
I feel like a lot of it is, especially when you're trying to pit black women against black men. You always have these things of, I don't need a man, or they set up stories that men always cheat, and that's not always the case. So Marlo, do you believe that sites like Worldstar Hip Hop and Shade Room reflect Black life, or do they distort it? Can't hear you.
They've monetized the worst parts of it, right? They have made, both of these companies have generated a whole hell of a lot of money by keeping Black dysfunction viral, right? I mean, yeah, now the Shade Room tries to chime in with little nice stories and Black excellence and stuff like that, but their bread and butter for the first decade that they existed in WorldStar, since the beginning, right? Since people were commenting first in the comments, right? Since that was a thing, has been on Black pain and things that bring shame to the Black community, if you will, right? Because we can't escape the collective. Like other communities are very lucky. They can escape the collective branding. We cannot escape the collective branding. So I think as a whole, it's been very destructive in the name of a few people becoming very wealthy. And I think that if we look at the story of Black people in this country, that's it. A few people make a whole lot of money off of the pain and the endurance, if you will, of the Black struggle in this country. So, but people keep giving it clicks. I keep asking people to be stingy with their clicks, and y'all keep giving clicks out like y'all a bunch of little click holes. And this is where we end up in a society where anything goes as long as it can be monetized.
Oh, Marlo, you hit it right on the head. And I will be happy to report to you that I am not a click hoe. If I see something that don't look right, we just scroll. No click hoe, just scroll. That's a t-shirt now. It is a t-shirt. All right, we're going to take a quick break and we will be right back. Put your comments in there. We'd love to hear what you think about all this stuff too, because it affects us daily. We'll be right back.
Woo! It's a good show right here. But I'm biased. If you are just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. My name is Tiara Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood, and I'm the proud producer of this show because it is lit. If you want to receive notifications for when we go live Monday through Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All you have to do is text the word Queens to 87948. That's Queens to 87948. That's QUEENS to 87948. Also, if you want to grow your money and not blow your money, all you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. There's all kinds of resources, there's courses, there's free giveaways. There's just no reason to be broke in 2025. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. Obviously, you don't want to be entertained here. You want to know enough to grow. Wait, I need to put that on a shirt. You got to know to grow. Got to know to grow. So know and grow with flynubianmoney.com.
But when I tell you social media is amplifying the divide between Black men and Black women, pages like Justin LA Boy, pages like Spiritual World, who take the most toxic messages from Twitter and all other platforms, put them in one space that are purposely perpetuating narratives that we really aren't interacting with in the real world. You go on a day, you're not having these conversations, but you go on social media and these conversations are constantly repeated, and none of it is solution focused. It's all what they do, what's not being done, and it's not productive. It's not pushing us forward. And what's happening is we are internalizing a lot of trauma that does not belong to us. So
say it again.
So we are internalizing a lot of relationship trauma that does not belong to us. So let's say for me personally, right, I've never been cheated on. But let's say I go and I follow a bunch of women who talk about the fact that, oh, I've been cheated on, all these niggas cheat, they steady cheating. I'm going to sit there and be like, oh yeah, niggas, they all cheat. That's all they do. And I'm not self-aware enough to really understand that that's not even my shit. That's not my baggage. That's somebody else's baggage. So one thing we really have to do is learn how to detach from some of these messages that we are constantly internalizing.
I can't say that I disagree with her. Dr. Sabrina, why do you think that content that shows pain or drama gets the most clicks?
I'm not really sure why that resonates so much with us. Marlo said something earlier that just kind of got me to thinking. In an era where everything is artificial, are we really looking for anything that's real? Is it something that we use to medicate ourselves, to take us out of reality? Like, is anybody really looking? Because the question is now, as a consumer, we have no control over what folks are selling, but we have absolute control over what we're buying. We have absolute control over that. And to Marlo's point, I mean, those platforms will really cease to exist if people stop going to them and clicking on them. So my question is not so much for them, because they're doing what they're supposed to do. This is a capitalistic society. They're trying to make a hustle. The question, though, becomes for us, what are we looking for? Why are we over there? Why are we not looking for truth? Why are we not supporting our own? We know that there are people out there that look like us that they're out there. They're going to tell our stories. But by far and near, are we supporting those? Are we going to those for our information? Or are we constantly clicking on these other sites? So they're only able to do what we allow them to do. And that's with anything, because we are the consumers. We're the ones, they're able to exploit us because we're exploitable. If we stop putting ourselves in that position, then we would not be there. And so, I mean, I think for all the conversation, Lala, that we can have about what other folks are doing to us, we also have to put that mirror in front of our faces and saying, why are we allowing ourselves to be exploited? Why are we over there in the first place? What are we looking for? Why are we not on sites like Fly Nubian Money, trying to educate and elevate ourselves rather than running behind the mess, the messy, the ugly side of us? What about the positive, those things that build, educate, and elevate? Who's running to those sites? I'm an educator. We don't get those kind of views because ain't nobody looking for the message that we are bringing to the table. But that junk, that mess, that messy, that ugly, oh, we resonate to that. We run to that right there. So I got a whole nother way of looking at it. It's on us. It's not just on them.
Well, you know what's interesting that you say is because I do a lot of content around real estate and what's going on. And, I don't get a whole lot of clicks myself, just that people are watching, but still they're not clicking. But last week I thought to myself, what if I presented it in like a drama type of fashion? So I did an experiment. And I did shorts where I was like, girl, let me tell you what Franny Ray and Freddie Mac and all them, let me tell you what they doing this week. I have got the most views off of me coming on and being dramatic about the information than I have ever gotten on my short reels. And I don't know what it is, if it's human nature that we really like to hear drama or spilling the tea like it's gossip. No matter what the content is, we want to be in on it. But in on it to a point of, is this helping you or hurting you is the question for me. Joe, how much of what we consume online affects how we see ourselves as a community?
It has a lot to do with it, right? I do want to, before I go answer that question, I want to go back to that question you asked Dr. Sabrina about why we're doing it, because it might answer both questions at the same time about how we see each other. Because what we're looking for online isn't accuracy. We're looking for confirmation of the things that we're already afraid of, right? So it's like a little emotional Google, right? If I fear that all men cheat, right, that's the thing that I fear. My algorithm is going to give me stories about men cheating and content about men not being anything, and then it's going to pull up toxic relationship discussions, because that's where I spend my time on, because I feel safer in those conversations because I already believe these things and I'm looking for confirmation of that fear. And that's
Mm.
why I keep going back to it, and that and it seeks familiar, the brain seeks just familiar patterns, and that's what we're doing. We're looking, we're all operating in fear, and social media dances on our fears. It dances on the things that we're rigid about, the things that we are scared of, and it keeps us there. It keeps our heart rate at a place where, okay, well, I'm sitting in the thing that I believe, or if I'm somebody who really likes to be anxious, this is going to keep me anxious. If I'm somebody that's looking for something to make me less anxious, well, hearing stories about things that I already believe are are going to make me less anxious. Ah, you're right. You see how these experts are having this conversation about the thing that I'm afraid of, so I'm going to sit in it, and but overall, how does it make us see ourselves? Like it's so damaging, right? And as a therapist, I see it firsthand all the time. It takes a psychological toll on us. It's constant exposure to trauma content. You know, dysfunction, the exploitation of our pain is so deep on social media that it keeps us in a chronic state of just being hyper vigilant. And that's why I constantly recommend, when I'm talking to somebody and they're telling me about the things they're afraid of, I'm all, hey, right now I'm currently myself on a social media fast. I'm on a social media fast because I have to do that, even though my good friend told me I can't do it, but I'm still on it because
I have to too,
I have
Joe.
to get off of it. I have to get off of it because it frames blackness through struggle, through violence, through cooning, all the things. It doesn't give the accurate, to me, the accurate picture of what black people actually need to be focused on and what they need to be doing. And it kind of shapes how we see ourselves in our relationships, how we see ourselves moving through the world. And what looks like entertainment is just trauma dumping over it, is reenacting our trauma over and over again. So it's just designed to keep us emotionally activated, and you got to be careful about what you're consuming if you're not in a right state of mind.
It's interesting when I feel, because I also do political talks a lot live. And so therefore my algorithm picks up on that. When I feel like it is way overwhelming, I purposely go and look for babies. I go and look for puppies and funny animals just so that I can get my algorithm back to the way that I need it to be so that I can have that balance, because you can. And I know I'm not the only one. I am not the only one where maybe you can't sleep that night, or maybe you can sleep, but you just choose to death scroll all night. And then next thing you know, it's 3 hours later and you've consumed things that is not good for you. Listen, let's look at this, what we have down here, because this is really important for us to understand. World Star Hip Hop, once labeled the CNN of the streets, was sold in 2018 for roughly $40 million to a non-Black media company. And less than 5% of major media outlets in the US are Black owned, according to the Federal Communications Commission. Listen, y'all, why do you think a lot of these people decide that they're going to cash in on it? It's no different than our hair products, our body products. We're seeing more and more non-melanated people come in and step into these places of our space. Marlo, do you think that we should protect our spaces a little harder?
I mean, but World Star Hip Hop is not my space, right? Like, this is the thing. I think that we are a fork tongued people. We say we want positivity. We say we want images that reflect who we really are, who our friends, who our family are. But as a person that digs into media data, as a person who has created media and creates media now, I could tell y'all without a shadow of a doubt, I have access to hundreds of media news networks, buy-in from national to local, and what people are clicking on, y'all ain't clicking positivity, babes. The positive stories don't even chart in the analytics data. Y'all are clicking on the homicides, and part of it, I believe, and you know, Joe as the professional can say I'm totally off the mark, but part of it is people want to feel good about themselves, and being able to look down on the next person is the easiest way to do that. If your mindset is a certain way, it is very easy for you to look at your neighbor and be like, man, it's messed up over here, but it ain't like by the Jacksons, right? Like it's very easy to do that. And social media gives us the opportunity, right? I live in North Louisiana. I could look at people in Texas. I could look at people in Omaha, people in the south of France, like all over the world. I can look at them and be like, ooh, it's tight, but it ain't that tight, right? Like I have that opportunity if that is the way that my mindset works. And I think for a lot of people it is. All of this baby mama, baby daddy, I never had that. None of my friends that I know have lived through that drama. I'm in a beautiful relationship. Sometimes I feel guilty. I'm like, ooh, I should be telling the people about how good it is over here, but I don't want nobody to feel bad. But I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at 4 people that have great relationships. And so we're not a minority. But what happens is that dysfunction gets so loudly broadcast because everybody want to be, well, hallelujah, glad it ain't me, right? Everybody wants to have that moment. And I think that is a lot of what perpetuates what we see on social media, the dysfunction and the nastiness, the ugly. I'm showing up to the baby birthday party and they don't know I'm coming. For what? You shouldn't even be clicking on it. You should see that caption and you should keep moving because that ain't none of my business, but that's not what human nature is. And I think that social media allows us to see the very worst in human nature play out in both parts, in the car wreck itself and in the looky-loos and the people who cause the traffic watching the train wreck on the other side. It goes both ways, and there's enough blame for everybody.
I can't agree more. We are going to take a short break and we'll be back to continue this conversation.
I know you're busy, you got things to do, and you can't take us on the go with you every single day. Good news for you. We are now on Spotify. So if you can't watch us, now you can listen to us on Spotify. Search Fly Nubian Money and all the episodes shall appear. All you have to do is like, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, leave some comments, tell people how you love us so that when other people come along and are looking for a great show to watch, they can find Fly Nubian Money too. One last thing, and just in case you've been sitting under a rock, Fly Nubian Money now has an investment club. We are the Fly Nubian Money Club. It's easy. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com, and I am committed to bringing in top experts from all industries to help you level up. They're teaching us the skills that we need to compete in this market. We often say that nobody is coming to save us, not the government, but guess what? We're coming to save us. I'm coming to save you with the Fly Nubian Money Club. So listen, all you have to do again is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com. We have a 30-day free trial set up just for you, just for those people that are struggling. Even if you ain't struggling, you ain't got to struggle. I'm coming. Okay, let me stop playing. I'll see you soon.
I absolutely love that. We do help you. This is a good, positive space. Tap in, family. Tap all the way in. Dr. Sabrina, do you think that people outside of our culture see this content and assume that it represents all of us?
Sure they do. You hear that all the time. I mean, people will have interacted with, 3 Black people, and that could be negative interactions. And it's like all Black people, are in that category. Sure they do. I mean, is it fair? No, it's not fair. But it's real. It's a reality. People will take those things that they view online and they'll think, all Black people are, fighting in the grocery store or, sitting at home waiting for their SNAP benefits to be turned back on, or, even though the statistics are telling everybody it's not us, but, that's the image that has been portrayed. That's the narrative that has been spun. And, yeah, other people outside of us look at that and think that, hey, there are people, it's some of us that think that. So yeah.
You know, it's interesting that as I think on that question, we have to also remember this is how the narrative of us has been around for a very long time. You have to remember in early film how white people portrayed us, early cartoons that are now banned portrayed us. You know, and people feel nostalgic about those things that we grew up with. You have to remember Little Black Sambo, especially the one. There was also another one that, you know, Mama's Little Baby Loves Shortening Bread, where the black mother was scrubbing her black baby and powdering her black baby with black powder. You know, this is nothing new, but what the part bothers me is a lot of times it's supposed to be in our spaces, and it's the same situation as others who are not melanated, who are controlling that narrative. So, Joe, I'd like to know how you feel. I'm going to turn it on you a little bit. I know you talk about how our community is, but I'm going to turn it on you a little bit. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. How do you feel when you see Black trauma is being turned into entertainment?
It's hurtful, to be honest with you. It really is hurtful for me. I don't like it. Because like I said before, like it's just capitalizing on our pain, and it's not really good representation. It's more exploitation. You know, it's not told with the story. Our stories aren't being told with any type of um context to them, as far as implementing empathy and vulnerability is just a means to inspire rage. And you know, and I tell my clients all the time, like, your media diet is really as important as your food diet, and a lot of times, you know, because what you watch shapes your nervous system, it shapes your beliefs, it shapes your emotional capacity. And if all you're consuming is dysfunction, then you're going to normalize dysfunction. If you're
Mm,
consuming just chaos, then you just start seeing chaos where it doesn't even exist. Look at the state of the country. We've normalized chaos in real
yeah,
time, you
yeah.
know. And you know, we do deserve content that uplifts us, informs us, that affirms us, not just content that entertains us at the cost of our own dignity. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times, I think the more frustrating thing is when we actually have control over the story and we still choose to do what we're doing. That really is about the height of what I can accept. You know what I mean? Like I get really frustrated because, you know what I mean. You can't tell me that you've walked in this country as a black person and have no idea. Like, you know. So why are you doing that? Why are you, you know, going into clickbait? Why are you using exploitive media to shape how, you know, black men and black women see each other? Why are you doing that? So you asked me a question, and I didn't really know the answer until you started. So I started thinking about it. But as you can see, it really bothers me because it makes it hard. It makes it hard. If your purpose is what my purpose is, it makes it hard.
Lala, I
No,
have a question.
yes.
So I'm listening to this conversation, and I know how we are framing it, and we're looking at what others outside of our community are doing to shape, you know, our opinion and others' opinion of us. But I tell you, when I get frustrated, Joe, is when we do it to ourselves. And by that I mean even some of these in Hollywood that uh produce movies that don't show us in our best light. And my question is, why are we still doing that? That, you know, why, when we have an opportunity now, we have so many great stories that we can be telling and that we should be telling. So it's not that I don't understand why they are doing what they're doing. I get it. It's about money at the end of the day. I don't care. My daddy just said earlier this morning, he's straight up old school. He's like, you know, they'll sell anything. They will sell anything, including their own family, for $1. They'll sell it if somebody's buying. But the point is, why are we doing that? Why are we putting, I mean, you have that negative story online. Okay, somebody puts it online, but we view it and then we share it and we continue to share it. But something positive, a positive messaging, we don't even click on it, let alone share it with other people. So again, what is it about us that's making us do that? What is it about those people, and Marlo, this may be a good question for you, that have the capacity to produce movies that show us in a positive light? We have thousands of stories that have not been told, and if we don't tell them, nobody else is going to tell them. But yet we continue to produce stuff that
So I will say this. We joke all the time about Tubi, right? And the Tubi movies with the bad wigs and the messed up scenes and the spinning bullets and all of that stuff. But there are also movies by Black creators on Tubi that are good movies. There are horror films and thrillers. There are psychological thrillers. But those get skipped over so that we could look at the bending bullets, right? We could look at what's going viral. We want to be part of that viral conversation. And so it harms Black filmmakers that are doing that, right? Because you can't go to a studio with your 300 views on Tubi and try to get a budget for something that's going to end up in theaters, because now those clicks matter. Now your social engagement and your social growth and your ability to move content on your own without a machine behind you is as important as what you'll do with the machine's money. The machine knows. They did 16 power books for 50 Cent. They did Big Meech, Lil Meech, Baby Meech, Pregnant Meech. All the Meeches got a show, right? And we ate that shit up. Ate it up with spoons and forks. But you look at a film like, Queen and Slim, it wasn't a box office success. It was a really good film, cinematically beautiful. It got some cinematic buzz. Didn't make a whole lot of money. When Issa Rae did her attempt at The Notebook, I think it was called The Photograph, didn't make a whole lot of money. And the studios see that. So you certainly aren't going to get a Black, emotional, dramatic film on 62 theater screens in America, because y'all, the consumer, has proven that you want 17 books of power and 43 Meech spinoffs. And that is what they want to give. They don't want to take a risk on the quality film that's going to touch and humanize Black people, because what Black people have shown over and over and over again is that we are going to show up in droves for the mess. And like you said, it's all about money. So if they dangle $10 million in front of me and they say, Mama, go ahead and make whatever little happy documentary you want to make, and we're going to release it in a limited space, I can say yes to that. It's going to cost me probably half of that to make, and then I'm going to have to pay for marketing budget, so I'm not going to get a whole lot of money. But then they could turn around and say, Marlo, we want to do this movie about these young girls that they rob and they have sex with men and they do all these nefarious things, and we're going to give you a $200 million budget. What do you think people are going to go and make? What is they? Because the success of this film hinges on whether or not I'm going to get another film. So if this film flops, the likelihood that I'm going to get money for another one is in the toilet. And also, Black people with money, are y'all investing money in film so that we can make films that don't always have us selling drugs, cheating on our spouses, hating our kids, hating our families, hating ourselves? Are the Black people with money, where are you investing your money when it comes to media? Are you even investing your money? Those are all the questions that we have to ask when it comes to the positive images, because I've taken my own money and made films. Tiara's taken her own money. She's not on right now, but she's taken her own money and made films. And we've tried to make films that look positive, gotten distribution, but people don't want to read that. People don't want to watch that. They don't want to see it. They want 17 books of power, and they want a creator behind it that is as nefarious as the tales that he's telling. So 50 Cent is a bully online. He creates bully content and all of that stuff. And people eat that up because negativity is also a source of nourishment, I guess.
At what point then that we are the ones that are creating our own problem, and that's what is so frustrating more than anything. Listen, we have another video to check out. Let's check this out, and Bill, we'll be right back.
So we're going to talk about why we can't get good black TV. There's a reason, and it's called the profit limit pattern. A demographic is only allowed to be as visible as it is extractable. So this means that stories get greenlit not to reflect reality, but to optimize the amount of emotion, identity, and energy that can be extracted from that group. Once extraction plateaus or threatens power, the narrative access shuts down. Visibility equals exploitable value, not actual care. So here's how this works. First, you identify what the group can offer the market. And usually, depending on who's speaking, this means different things. So for black people, they see pain, rhythm, rebellion, and spectacle. For Latino folks, they see exoticism, family, labor, and loyalty. Right? For Asian folks, they see achievement, mystique, and internal conflict. For white folks, they see complexity, universality, and self-doubt. For queer folks, they see aesthetic, transgression, and performance. And for trans folks, they see transformation, danger, and tragedy. This is the narrative commodity, the studio's version of what you're good for. And then you contain that group within a profitable narrative box. You can exist as long as you stay within the story we can sell. For black folks, you can suffer, you can be funny, you can die, you can rise through violence, but you can't be whole. Love without loss, joy without struggle, no profit. Anything beyond the profit limit feels niche, soft, unrelatable. So there's really 4 tropes like that 90% of black media kind of run into. Is that greenlit projects recycle the extractable narrative. So the media just relies on what they already know how to monetize, which is slave trauma, single black mother survival, angry black woman, reform black man through suffering. And they already know how to get money off of these, so they just keep going. And they suppress or undersell narratives that threaten the limit. What if a black couple breaks up respectfully and heals? Not dramatic enough. What if a trans woman doesn't die at the end? Not emotionally striking. What if an undocumented immigrant isn't hypermoral? Won't test well. Subtlety and nuance don't maximize extraction, and you get to see a ton of case studies literally per demographic. For black narratives, the profit limit is just pain, spectacle, and redemption. Undervalued is the softness, repair, community ecosystems, and spiritual nuance. For Latino folks, it is the profit limit was immigration struggle, cartel violence, Catholic guilt, and what gets undervalued is the class mobility stories, the black Latina dad, the intergenerational modernity. And for Asian narratives, we get to see academic pressure, silence, and stoic rebellion. But what gets undervalued is the joy, the mess, the sexual agency, the working class subcultures. And for white people, we get to see the existential crisis, the spiritual searching, the anti-heroism. That's their profit limit. But what gets overfunded for them is the narcissistic trauma tropes with no stakes for others. Right? You notice how I didn't say under this time. So here's the thing. Here's why this exists. Capitalism doesn't want equity. And this is something that the representation folks have a hard time hearing. Capitalism doesn't want equity, ever, in no circumstance. Some people think they can get equity through a film. No, it wants symbolic extraction. Narrative capitalism is not about telling stories. It is about managing perception and maximizing return. If a community becomes valuable, not when it heals, right? Not even if. A community becomes valuable, not when it heals, but when its wound can be packaged. When its wounds can be packaged.
I think that brother spit so much knowledge there that is so much to impact. That could be a completely whole show just into his own video. And I think that he has hit the nail on the head, but that's exactly what we are saying here. We're also a part of the problem with being the consumer of the things that we don't like to see. Anonymous, I have to say, he said we went from Berry Gordy to Tyler Perry. Well, some people don't like Tyler Perry, but in my world right now, world hip hop star, I ain't looking at none of that. I will take Tyler Perry any day. We're now into the holiday season. I know what kind of videos and movies we're gonna get now. It's always gonna be family, cooking, grandma, fighting. It's all going to be the same thing. When are we going to get out of this doggone narrative, right? Everything he said is actually something we really need to internalize, to ask the question of ourselves. So Dr. Sabrina, what responsibility do you think influencers, because whether you think you're an influencer or not, like everyone here on this panel, we all have something that we put back into our community. And I like to think every last one of us, I know we do, put something positive back into our community. So what responsibilities do influencers have when they use negative content to grow their audience?
I think we have a huge responsibility what image we are putting out into the environment. Are we putting our best self out? Because whether we, there are people that have made the argument, especially some of these entertainers, like, I'm not an influencer, I'm not a role model, I'm not this. Whether you want to be or not, there's somebody out there looking at you and what you are doing. So I do think we have a responsibility to put things out into the environment that are uplifting to other people, because the reality is all we have to do is step outside. I mean, step out, and in some cases, we don't even have to step outside. Some of us live in so much confusion and so much negativity till sometimes we got to step outside to see something positive. So I think we do have a responsibility. Those that have, positive things going on, where I was kind of listening to Marlo a few minutes ago, maybe you don't want to make people feel bad about that love thing you got going on, girl, but maybe you need to highlight that. Let some of these Black women know that, Black love is a real thing, and it is achievable. And, it's not just a fairy tale. I think we have responsibilities to show that positive, Lala, just like these other people are shining the spotlight on the negative.
And I have to agree with you on that. So that actually launches me back to you, Marlo. What does healthy representation actually look like for us? You're in the film and television. What does this look like for us?
I mean, it looks like what it looks like for everybody else. We can have, we do everything that everybody else does. We work, we get married, we have mental breaks, right? We have chemical imbalances, we have a healthy relationship, we have unhealthy relationships. We split up from people, we come back together. There's no difference in the way that we live, but somehow the part of our existence that only exists in the inner city, it only exists as an underbelly of society. That's the only part that really gets praise, right? If you didn't crawl through the mud and get it out the grit, like all of that stuff. But I mean, that's not some people's life. I remember when the Cosby Show was popping. I'm old enough to remember that Spike Lee was in the media talking negatively about the Cosby Show and saying that was not a believable image of Black people, that there would be these two high-end professionals that were working and their kids were in school. And it was like, you a third generation Morehouse man. Spike Lee is a third generation Morehouse man. How could you even say, right? You're a man who left Brooklyn to go to the South to go to college because that's what your father and your grandfather did. And here you are down talking professionalism. You got into the exclusive Tisch School of Filmmaking at NYU. And here you are down talking what Black professionalism can breed and bring forward, because you understand that it's easier to make the negative, right? For the beginning of his filmmaking career, Spike Lee was always pitting Black against white. And while that was a real image of America, it wasn't the only image of America. And so I think that the biggest problem is a lack of imagination on the parts of the people that have to distribute this content, the people who we have to go knock on doors and sit in meetings with to get content distributed. There's a lack of imagination on their part, right? Because they're thinking about what has made money in the past and what can make money in the future. And I think when we look at something like Wakanda, right? Wakanda Forever. We made these, but that exists in a different universe. The Marvel universe is something all to itself that it can only make that kind of money if every kind of person went to see that film. I'm not talking about that kind of film. I'm talking about films that are going to grab Black audiences. Filmed with Taraji Henson, filmed with Regina Hall, right? Black actors who we know and love, who the masses don't necessarily know and love. And that is going to take imagination on the part of people who fund these films, but it's also going to take a little bit of risk on the parts of Black people who have a certain level of wealth that can make an investment into a film so that the film can be high quality, so that the wigs can be glorious, so that the microphones and the continuity in the set can be the same, right? If I'm drinking from this glass, every scene, I should be drinking the same amount of water from the glass. Not it's up high, it's down low. Like those are the things that make a film low budget and not really like they take away from the quality of what the audience is watching. But I think that imagination and I think also Black people demanding it, right? And if you won't make it at your mainstream production company, getting 10 people together who have the means to fund films, because that early Hollywood, that's how it was getting done. People were putting small amounts of money in to get a film funded. Hopefully it made money, it made your money back, you do it again. And I think unless we are creative, we're going to keep having to deal with this. Like AI is only going to further perpetuate the stereotypes, because everything that we put online as Black people, whether it's a joke or reality, somebody 2 continents away can filter that information and make some type of projection of us. So we got to take the bull by the horns. If there's any time to do it, it's right now, but it's going to take a lot of hands on deck to do it. It is not a one-man job.
You know, it's really interesting with all the tools that we have today. It's really no reason that people like us can't make that positive content and put it out. I will say that it was just recently announced that Ryan Coogler and Michael Jordan are to do a movie about Mansa Musa. I think these are the type of things that we need to see. Of course, everybody wants to see the second thing of Sinners, and that's cool and great. But me personally, I cannot wait to see what they're going to come up when they are talking about Mansa Musa. BET, the first Black-owned cable network, was sold to Viacom, now Paramount Global, in 2001. Despite its branding, the majority of its leadership and ownership are no longer Black. And a study from the USC Annenberg Inclusion Initiative found that less than 7% of media executives across Hollywood identify as Black, even though Black audiences make up over 13% of viewership. Wow. And social media algorithms are proven to amplify negative and sensational content by up to 60% more than neutral or positive posts, rewarding outrage and conflict over nuance. Listen, everybody all the way out here for a click, and all this new stuff that we see now, you know, this clickbait, this race bait, this anything to get the click. I'm just going to adopt Marlo's thing called, you know, click hoes. I don't be that, because they're out there to get your emotions going and for that click. People are also doing simple things like misspelling words so that people will come on and say, learn to spell. Well, that click counts as well. So you must be very conscious of that. And it's as simple as that. So we are actually going to start winding down, and I want to get some final thoughts from our panels as well as our viewership family. I do want to hit a couple of comments before we go into that. Black Lexicon says, I could probably generate 15K views showing myself drinking a simple cup of coffee, but watching that to me suggests degenerate tendencies. Walterine, I saw your comment about how you look at puppies, and baby, I will sit back and look at puppies for an hour if it means that that's what I'm going to get in my timeline for the next week, right? I think we've actually really hit a lot of good facts here, because honestly, it's going to start with us. So I'm going to start with you, Joe. What are your final thoughts, and where can we find you?
Well, you know, you can find me at the website right below my name. So there you go. Please reach out. I'm coming back again. I keep telling y'all, and I'm coming back to do my podcast. But this topic today is a lot of the reason why I haven't felt motivated to do it. But I'm feeling motivated again, so we're coming. But at the end of the day, I feel like we have to decide what kind of storytellers we want to be and what kind of story consumers we want to be, because it seems like for the longest time, our pain has been someone else's profit, and our culture has been, you know, someone else's content. Like that's it. And if we really want to get better and to be freer, it's not just about owning the platforms. We've got to own the narrative. You know, what are we protecting? You know, we want to protect the dignity in our stories, and we got to refuse trauma and refuse to let trauma be the only lens that the world sees us through. And I know there's other stories out there, and those stories are great. and we got to stop like feeling like we need to be, close to the power, and black people selling each other out, and that's what cooning is, just getting close to the power by any means necessary. But if we start healing and stop selling our wounds, then we'll start telling the whole truth about who we are.
I love that. Our stories, our own personal life stories, also can be a very positive thing for others. I like to feel that when we go through something, we went through it for a reason, to turn around and help somebody else. And I just firmly believe that. Marlo, what are your final thoughts, and where can we find you?
My final thought is that you are what you consume, right? Whether that's food or media, what are you eating? What are you watching? What are you consuming? And that's going to tell you a lot about how you feel about life, how your world outlook is. And if you do an assessment of that and you don't like it, change it. I change my algorithm every 90 days, sometimes more frequently than that. And I change it by searching for different things. I change it for searching for different things on my computer, because these bots are always mining our data and paying attention to what we're doing and where we're going and the sites that we're visiting. So give yourself a refresh. I can't, unlike Joe, I cannot afford to step back from social media because too many of the jobs that I do throughout the day rely on it. But that's why I came up with the refresh. If you want all of this madness out of your algorithm, you don't want to see it, start following different people, start engaging with different content, and I promise you that content will refresh and you will see something new that you like. If you're looking for me, you can find me, Marlo Layson. My name is out there. I have content, interviews, and all sorts of things, explorations, things I'm thinking of. You name it, I muse about it in my professional life. You can find me on the internet. That's where I live.
A lot of us have to live in these internet streets, especially if you're a business owner, and that can be tough. Listen, make sure you reach out to Marlo. Marlo has some really great content. You don't want to miss that. And listen, she always spits so much truth. She's in that world. She lives in that world. That's what she does. And I absolutely loved everything that you said today, Marlo. I think you gave us some really great perspectives to think about. Dr. Sabrina, what is your final thoughts, and where can we find you?
Well, as we're concluding, I was thinking about something I saw a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you guys saw this, where Judge Faith came out. She and her husband, Kenny Lattimore, have literally been just scrutinized on social media. A lot of things have been published that were not true about them, and they fought back. I mean, they literally tracked down some of these people that were sharing these stories. And I share that to say that even though we are being entertained a lot of times when untruths are being told, we forget about the people that are on the other side of those stories and how hurtful some of those things are for those families and those individuals. And I don't think we should ever allow ourselves to be caught up in finding joy and entertainment on someone else's pain. That's not right. That is not right. And we've got to step away from that. And with that being said, I challenge us. Anybody can try to feed us anything they want, but it's up to us to accept what we're being fed. That being said, I am Dr. Sabrina Edmond Williams, educator, author, and investor, opening minds and closing contracts. I am so noted. And I am delighted and excited to be here to kick off the week with my fellow co-hosts, co-panelists. If you're looking for any help with your life and legacy planning, please follow me across social media platforms at I Am So Noted. That's IAMSEWNOTED. And don't believe that my last name is Jackson, because it's not. Sorry.
It just wants to change everything about you. But look, Dr. Sabrina, you sparkle. All right. So I absolutely love that. Listen, you know where to go. You get the right person, right? Listen, here's my final thoughts. It is up to us to be the light. Every video that I do, and especially when I'm doing my content for YouTube and teaching people about real estate and international real estate, I always end my broadcast by saying, be the light. And what that means is shine bright, show that there is positivity in the world. You can tell the truth, even if it sounds a little dark sometimes, but still put the light back into the world. To me, that's important. I can't imagine even wanting to create a video that would impact our community negatively. I just won't do it. So for me, being the light is the most important thing that I have when I am presenting to you anything of worth. And I always try to put something of worth out there for you. With that being said, you can find me at laurakey.net. I have a little series about holiday tips on how you can pull back spending a lot of money, putting a stop on your budget, spending in the right place. And it's a holiday guide bliss book on my website at laurakey.net. Listen, we had such a beautiful show today. Thank you, Anonymous and Deborah and Walterine. You know, we always love you when you here. We have Black Lexicon. We have Deborah. We have Michael. We have so many people, Dr. Vibe, C. White. They all come in. Y'all all come in every day. We so appreciate you and so much. I don't believe in not acknowledging those who support us. And you mean the world to us because you're here and you uplift us. You talk to us. You get the conversation going. Not only that, you guys also share us out, and we are grateful for that. So listen, at the end of the day, culture is currency. But when we don't own it, we lose more than money. We lose our power to define ourselves. So it's time to stop selling pain as entertainment and start investing in content that uplifts, educates, and empowers our people. When we control the message, we control the legacy. So thank you to my amazing panel, my family, my friends. I love you all because that's what you feel like to me. For a beautiful and honest time to sit and talk about this necessary conversation about what it really means to own our stories. Now, listen, for you, we're here Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you don't want to miss our show, all you got to do is text the word Queens, Queens, to 87948. I got tongue-tied there so that you don't miss anything. And if you do miss a show, make sure you hit us up on Spotify as well. We have our shows listed there. I hope you guys have a blessed day, but I hope that you also take away today something that will change the way you're looking at your algorithm. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out. Bye.
So I talk about the blackness as being something to put, things glow in the dark. Yeah. I think black people have always glown in the dark. That we found a way to make things matter when no one wanted to pay attention. But right now it really matters. Our survival depends on our ability not only to tell stories, but for people to understand our stories. And news and media is critical. I mean, we're not talking about fiction or things that people make up. It's nice, Black Panther, and I love all that. But this is real stuff that's happening all